The turkey that roasted Meghan. How one clip derailed her holiday empire. What if a turkey could cancel a multi-million-dollar show? No, seriously. What if the most PR-conscious woman on the planet found herself blindsided, not by palace leaks, press feuds, or a frosty royal reunion, but by poultry? Because this wasn't just any Thanksgiving turkey. This was Meghan Markle's turkey. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And the second it showed up, raw, lemon zest, and dangerously unloved, on her Instagram story, something snapped. Not the bird. Not yet. The internet. Within minutes, one comment sliced through the air like a carving knife. Salmonella Sussex. Cruel, catchy, and devastating. It was the beginning of a viral frenzy that would lead to a holiday special quietly pulled by Netflix, branding experts in crisis mode, and Meghan Markle herself allegedly demanding answers no one was willing to give. So how did it all spiral so quickly? Let's rewind. Thanksgiving 2025. California. Meghan is all smiles, clad in a cream-colored knit and subtle gold jewelry, her kitchen bathed in warm, lifestyle magazine lighting. There's acoustic music playing. A hint of sage and citrus in the air. A free-range, organic turkey rests in a roasting pan, camera ready. And then, the moment. Meghan leans over the bird, giggles softly, and begins to massage a rub of spices and lemon zest into the raw skin. The shot lingers. Her hands are graceful, deliberate. Too deliberate. Because they're not bare. She's wearing rings. And bracelets. While handling raw poultry. The aesthetic was curated. The lighting was perfect. The intention was probably a charming sneak peek of her upcoming holiday special, With Love, Meghan, a holiday celebration, set to stream on Netflix that weekend. But something went terribly wrong. The internet saw what her team didn't. No gloves. No food safety precautions. Just salmonella risk, on full, glittery display. What came next was swift and brutal. Dozens of food safety experts chimed in. Celebrity chefs dropped subtle shade. Public health bloggers posted side-by-sides of what not to do with raw poultry. One microbiologist went viral explaining how jewelry can harbor dangerous bacteria in porous metal crevices, even if you wash your hands. And in the cruel, pun-loving ecosystem of the internet, the inevitable nickname took off. Salmonella Sussex. It was a jab that worked on every level, rhythmic, snarky, symbolic. It wrapped food poisoning, faux pas, and failed branding into 3 unforgettable syllables. And like wildfire, it spread. But that's not the whole story. That was just the surface. Because beneath that viral moniker was a storm Meghan never saw coming. A storm that would derail a holiday special already rumored to be in trouble behind the scenes. A storm that would see Netflix quietly scrub all promotion, just days before airing. A storm that would lead to leaks, panic, and what insiders now describe as the most humiliating week of Meghan's post-royal career. Why? Because the backlash wasn't just about bacteria. It was about illusion. Meghan Markle has spent the last 5 years building an empire of curated imperfection, relatable but elegant, feminist but fashionable, domestic but aspirational, always 2 steps ahead of the narrative. This turkey moment shattered that. It exposed the line between genuine and performative, between a woman cooking for her family and a woman producing content for a brand. And the public felt it. They sensed the disconnect between the staged lighting and the basic safety slip-up. They saw the contradiction between her natural lifestyle, persona, and the obliviousness of smearing raw poultry in Cartier. And in that moment, just a few seconds long, her image cracked. The reactions were visceral. So gross. Basic food handling 101. I thought she was supposed to be all wellness and clean living. This is how people get food poisoning at Thanksgiving. Of course, others defended her. She washed her hands. Everyone makes mistakes. Why is everything she does overanalyzed? But it didn't matter. The nickname stuck. And in Hollywood, where optics are everything, this PR meltdown came at the worst possible time. Because just weeks earlier, Netflix had internally greenlit a soft launch of With Love, Meghan, a holiday special set in her Montecito kitchen, filled with charming moments of cooking, decorating, storytelling, and heartfelt reflections. It was supposed to be her answer to Martha Stewart meets Oprah, cozy, powerful, and in control. Instead, It became a punchline. Insiders say that within 48 hours of the turkey clip going viral, meetings at Netflix turned tense. Legal, PR, and content teams debated the risks. Could they still air the special with her now being mocked as Salmonella Sussex? Would it appear tone-deaf? By Friday, the answer was clear. The trailer placeholder was removed from the Netflix homepage. Promotional materials were pulled. Pre-scheduled press pushes were paused. And the show? It never aired. Not even a teaser. Just silence. No official statement. No cancellation notice. Just a gaping digital absence where a high-budget holiday rollout was supposed to be. It was, in every sense, a quiet scrubbing. And yet, the silence screamed louder than any press release. Because if the internet thought Meghan had suffered a branding hiccup, they didn't yet realize she'd just had an entire project incinerated in the background. And Meghan? Sources say she was livid. Not just at the public backlash, but at Netflix. At the team that filmed her. At the advisors who didn't flag the jewelry moment. At the platform that dropped her without warning. Some say she demanded internal answers. Others say she wanted to re-edit the entire special to remove the raw turkey segment. There were even whispers of a lawsuit, though nothing formal has surfaced. But the damage was done. And the irony? This special was supposed to humanize her. It was designed to show Meghan in her element. Joyful, domestic, relaxed. No tiaras. No tabloid battles. Just a woman in her kitchen, sharing her holiday with the world. Instead, it became her most humbling episode yet. And here's where it gets really complicated. Because some PR analysts now argue this wasn't just a content failure. It was a branding collapse. A moment when the Markle machinery revealed too much of the stagecraft and not enough of the soul. When even fans started asking, who is this really for? And this is why this Salmonella Sussex backlash matters. Not because of germs, but because it broke the fourth wall. It reminded viewers that this wasn't just a cute cooking clip. It was part of a larger machine. A machine that misfired catastrophically. And now, the question remains. Will Meghan retreat and regroup? Or will she double down? Because what comes next, what she does in the wake of this, will define more than a holiday special. It could redefine her entire post-royal narrative. But before we get there, we need to understand how deep this backlash went. Because the clip may have sparked the fire, but it was the reactions, the leaks, the silences, and the scrubbing that turned this from a viral moment into a full-blown media reckoning. And it's only just begun. Because the next person to speak out wouldn't be Meghan or Netflix, but someone who worked on the show and who allegedly had a lot to say about what really happened behind the scenes. And that's where the story explodes. How does one frame go from holiday cheer to internet horror? It wasn't a scandal, a lawsuit, or a leaked email that started the storm. It was a turkey. More precisely, an Instagram clip. Silent, aesthetic, controlled. Or so it seemed. Just 28 seconds long. But it may go down as the most infamous food clip of 2025. So let's slow it down, frame by frame. Because if we're going to understand how Meghan Markle's polished holiday persona got swallowed by a raw bird, we need to rewind to the exact moment the spark was lit. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The clip opens with the sound of ambient jazz in the background. Warm lighting floods the frame. A tall glass vase filled with eucalyptus sits near a gleaming marble counter. You could practically smell the cinnamon and clove through the screen. The camera slowly pans left, revealing Meghan Markle, smiling, radiant, serene. She's dressed in a soft cream turtleneck and tailored dark trousers, with delicate gold bangles catching the light as she moves. And then it cuts to the turkey, resting in a roasting tray. Skin pale, glistening, awaiting transformation. Meghan leans over, and with practiced elegance, she begins massaging a spice mixture over the bird. Paprika, lemon zest, thyme, salt. She moves in slow, smooth circles, like a chef from a holiday special. Her voice isn't heard, but her expression suggests comfort, confidence, joy. But to the trained eye, or even just the observant one, something is off. She's still wearing jewelry. Rings. Multiple. One with a large central stone. A twisted gold band. A delicate pinky ring. And bracelets. Thin, chic, high-end. The kind that might cost more than the entire turkey. And they're all in direct contact with the raw bird. There are no gloves. No barrier between the jewelry and the uncooked meat. No pause to remove the accessories. No visual cue of switching to sanitized prep. Just elegant fingers in contact with poultry skin. And glittering metal that, according to every food safety guide in the world, should never, under any circumstances, be near raw chicken or turkey. Now ask yourself, have you ever seen a celebrity chef do that? Would Ina Garten? Nigella Lawson? Gordon Ramsay? Not a chance. And that's why this single moment, less than 5 seconds in the middle of a glamorous holiday vignette, unleashed an avalanche. Because to viewers, this wasn't just an oversight. It was a betrayal of trust. At first, the comments were confused. Is she really rubbing raw turkey with her rings on? Wait, aren't those Cartier? Cute vibe, but that's not food safe. Where are the gloves? Then confusion turned to concern. Hope no one eats that. Jewelry carries bacteria, even if you wash your hands. She's always preaching wellness. How did she miss this? And then came the nickname. A single X, formerly Twitter, post. Sharp, simple, devastating. From now on, we call her Salmonella Sussex. 12 likes, then 50, then hundreds. By the end of the day, it had over 1 million views. And the next morning, the phrase was trending globally. Why did it take off so fast? Because it was perfect. A catchy alliteration. A sly dig at her former royal title. A critique of her lifestyle brand. And a reference to one of the most common and feared bacteria in kitchen mishandling. It wasn't just mean. It was surgically precise. Salmonella Sussex became a meme, a punchline, a brand destroyer. Suddenly, TikTok was flooded with parody clips. Creators in tiaras massaging turkeys with bedazzled gloves, lip-syncing to Meghan's Old Archetypes podcast while spraying Lysol on poultry. Instagram chefs made how not to prep turkey videos. YouTubers posted reaction breakdowns to the 28-second reel. Even Facebook moms, those holy guardians of Pinterest-worthy holidays, tore into her like critics at a failed bake-off. It was no longer about the turkey. It was about what it meant. Because for years, Meghan had been carefully rebranding herself. From royal rebel to media mogul. From actress to advocate to global lifestyle guru. Her brand, especially with the upcoming With Love, Meghan special, was about elegance, authenticity, curated imperfection. A woman you could trust to help you elevate your holidays. Someone who knew the right wine pairing, the perfect tablescape, the magic of homemade cranberry compote. This moment fractured that image. It said, maybe the brand is smoke and mirrors. Maybe she doesn't actually cook that turkey. Maybe she doesn't know about hand-washing protocols. Maybe she's just playing the part of the perfect host, and badly. And for someone whose entire post-royal career rests on perception, this wasn't a small problem. It was a credibility crisis. Of course, some tried to defend her. She probably took the jewelry off before putting it in the oven. She clearly washed her hands later. Everyone's so dramatic. It's just Thanksgiving. But the counter-arguments missed the point. This wasn't about food poisoning. It was about symbolism. Because when you post a cooking video to promote a holiday brand, you're inviting scrutiny. You're asking the public to trust your aesthetic. And if the aesthetic includes risky kitchen behavior, especially in a time when food safety is top of mind, you've already lost. What made it worse? The silence. No response from Meghan. No follow-up clarification. No cheeky behind-the-scenes caption like, "Don't worry, jewelry came off after filming." Nothing. And in that vacuum, the narrative wrote itself. She didn't know. She didn't care. She thought her image was strong enough to ignore basic food handling rules. And that, for many, was the final straw. But what most people didn't know was that the clip wasn't just a casual holiday story. It was actually a teaser. A carefully staged snippet from her then-upcoming Netflix holiday special, With Love, Meghan, a holiday celebration. Yes, this was filmed content. Professionally shot, edited, approved. And that meant someone, maybe multiple people, saw that ring-laden turkey moment and said, yes, use that. So who missed it? Or worse, who knew and let it slide? And once Netflix saw the backlash, what did they do? Well, that's where things start to unravel behind the scenes. Because while the internet joked and memed and mocked, something much bigger was happening in the background. Something Meghan hadn't anticipated. And it started with a quiet phone call from Netflix's PR team. A call that, allegedly, set off a 48-hour scramble to save what was now a reputational disaster. But by then, it may have already been too late. How does a single offhand insult become a global nickname? What is it about the internet that turns minor slip-ups into full-scale identity crises? And more importantly, how did Meghan Markle, once the queen of controlling her image, become the face of one of the most humiliating viral memes of the year? Let's get one thing straight. Salmonella Sussex didn't come from the tabloids. It didn't originate in the backroom of some British tabloid office, nor was it fed by anonymous palace aides. No royal correspondent coined it. No Fleet Street editor pushed it. It came from us, from the public, from a random social media user with a sharp tongue and a phone full of hot takes. That's what makes it sting more. It was organic, democratic, spontaneous, and it was brutal. Within an hour of Meghan's turkey video dropping, Twitter, now X, was already abuzz. At first, the comments were just uncomfortable. But then, as screenshots of her jeweled hands circulated, someone fired the first real shot. Salmonella Sussex strikes again. Those rings are marinating bacteria. It wasn't even the first post with the phrase. But that one, it hit differently, because it was reposted by a large meme account, then reshared by a celebrity chef who added a facepalm emoji. And that's when the algorithm picked it up. The phrase exploded across timelines. Within 12 hours, Salmonella Sussex was trending on X in both the US and the UK. Within 24 hours, it had migrated to TikTok, Instagram Reels, and even Reddit threads unrelated to Meghan. Within 36 hours, Etsy shops were selling Salmonella Sussex aprons. And within 48 hours, even the Daily Mail and Page 6 had picked it up as a headline, ironically reporting on a joke that wasn't theirs to begin with. So what made it so sticky? Why this nickname? Simple. It was a perfect storm of linguistics, irony, and public exhaustion. First, let's break down the phrase. Salmonella, universally known, instantly triggers images of nausea, food poisoning, diarrhea. A name that packs both fear and disgust into 5 syllables. Now pair it with Sussex, a regal title, one historically associated with elegance, royalty, and aristocratic dignity. The contrast is jarring. That's what gives the nickname power. It's aristocratic decay in one phrase. A royal duchess brought low by bacteria. It doesn't just mock a hygiene slip, it ridicules the entire brand. But it wasn't just the wordplay. It was the timing. The public, whether they realized it consciously or not, was already growing tired of the Markle machine. The luxury lifestyle, the carefully curated vulnerability, the soft lighting, the empowerment quotes in calligraphy. To some, it started feeling manufactured, market-tested, sterile. And here was a moment, raw literally, unedited, and careless, that cracked the illusion. It was delicious irony. Served cold. No need to reheat. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of it. TikTok creators did Salmonella Sussex taste tests with parody turkeys. A viral sound used a slowed-down remix of Meghan's old speech over footage of bacteria under a microscope. Fashion influencers recreated her outfit, but replaced the jewelry with kitchen gloves labeled contaminated. Even BuzzFeed ran a listicle. 13 times you were safer from salmonella than Meghan's Thanksgiving turkey. And it didn't stop there. Public health agencies, never ones to miss a good meme opportunity, subtly joined the conversation. The US CDC tweeted, "Planning your holiday meal? Remember, wash hands thoroughly, remove jewelry, and always cook poultry to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Hashtag food safety hashtag, not just for royals." It got over 100,000 likes. And what about Meghan? Silence. Total silence. No statement. No clarification. No follow-up post. Which only made it worse. Because in the age of the internet, a vacuum invites chaos. The absence of an apology became arrogance. The lack of a joke became pretentiousness. The refusal to acknowledge the error turned a misstep into a movement. What could have been a quick oops, rings off next time, stay safe moment, turned into a weeks-long PR nightmare. Why? Because the world has changed. In 2023, the backlash might have faded. But in 2025, when authenticity is currency and every brand is a brand, the public expects engagement, humility, and a wink. Meghan offered none, and the internet punished her for it. Now, here's where things turn even more surreal. Enter the remix culture. Because once a meme becomes more than a punchline, once it becomes a template, you're no longer in control. You're content. People began splicing her cooking footage into horror movie trailers. One TikToker layered ominous violin music over the turkey moment, ending with the phrase, "coming soon," to a bathroom near you. Others made AI-generated cooking ads featuring Meghan in a faux hazmat suit, handling poultry with robotic arms. Even her Archetypes podcast wasn't safe. Someone edited audio clips to make it sound like she was giving food poisoning tips. The line between satire and sabotage was gone. Now pause and ask yourself, why did this resonate? Why did a small kitchen gaffe become the internet's favorite chew toy? Because it tapped into something bigger. The public's increasing fatigue with celebrity branding, the performative wellness, the over-polished authenticity, the influencer industrial complex, where even a turkey rub becomes a monetized moment. People were ready to pounce. All they needed was a symbol. And Meghan, unintentionally, gave them one. And yet, there's another layer here. A deeper contradiction. Because while Meghan was being eviscerated online, her fans were still defending her. They flooded comment sections, reminding everyone she was just cooking for her family. They reposted older clips of Meghan talking about nutrition, motherhood, and home life. They accused critics of sexism, racism, classism, and in some cases, they were right. Some of the backlash was disproportionate. Some was cruel. But when your entire public image is built around lifestyle, elegance, and domesticity, mistakes hit harder. And when you ignore them, they metastasize. This is when Netflix started sweating. Because behind the scenes, there was another countdown happening. The With Love, Meghan holiday celebration special was supposed to air the following weekend. It had already been shot. A trailer was prepped. Social media scheduling was in place. Gift boxes had allegedly been sent to influencers with branded honey jars and handwritten notes. But now their star was trending with a nickname that made the special sound like a warning label. How could they go forward? How could they not? And here's where the story starts accelerating. Because while the internet laughed, Netflix picked up the phone. And what happened next would leave Meghan stunned. Why did this turkey clip hit so hard? It's not like celebrities haven't fumbled before. From Gwyneth Paltrow's infamous conscious uncoupling to Chrissy Teigen's tone-deaf tweets. Celebs misstep all the time. But this moment cut deeper. Why? Because the backlash wasn't just about what Meghan did. It was about who she claimed to be. This wasn't a one-off cooking flub. It was a rupture in her carefully curated identity. A persona that had been polished, filtered, and monetized for years, now undone by a single, uncooked bird. So let's take a closer look. Not at the turkey, at the illusion. When Meghan Markle re-emerged in the post-royal world, she didn't just return as Meghan, the actress. She came back as Meghan, the brand. Think about it. Her Archwell Foundation wasn't just a charity. It was a messaging platform. Her Spotify podcast, Archetypes, wasn't just audio. It was a manifesto wrapped in glossy production. Her Netflix docuseries with Harry was more than storytelling. It was narrative control at its sleekest. And behind it all was the image of a woman in touch with the everyday. The mother, the cook, the friend who lights candles and writes hand-calligraphed notes while sipping oat milk chai. Meghan positioned herself as the hybrid ideal. A duchess who shops at Whole Foods. A mogul who composts. A speaker on global panels who still bakes banana bread for her neighbors. But here's the problem. When your image is that refined, one crack, and the whole sculpture wobbles. And the turkey moment? That wasn't a crack. It was a full fracture. To many, Meghan's kitchen had become a symbol, not just of taste, but of trust. It was where she filmed promotional videos, where she baked with friends, where she sat, cross-legged, barefoot, journaling with herbal tea beside a bowl of lemons. That kitchen was supposed to be sacred, real, lived in, rooted in conscious choices and sustainable living. So when she filmed herself rubbing a turkey with expensive jewelry on, without gloves, without care, it felt like a lie. Because it revealed something jarring. That maybe, just maybe, she wasn't really the domestic goddess she played on screen. Let's pause here. Ask yourself, when you watch a celebrity cooking video, what do you look for? Skill? Relatability? Cleanliness? Or something else, something more subtle? Authenticity. You want to believe that what you're seeing is at least partially real, not staged, not just content fodder. That's what makes videos from people like Joanna Gaines or even Stanley Tucci resonate. They don't just cook. They feel like they belong in their kitchens. With Meghan, the turkey moment shattered that illusion. It made the viewer question everything. Does she even cook? Does she understand basic hygiene? Was this moment rehearsed? Scripted? Did someone tell her to rub the bird slowly for visual effect? And if it wasn't real, if it was a performance, what does that say about everything else she's sold us? This isn't a small question. Because with Love, Meghan, the holiday special that never aired, was built on the foundation of relatability. It promised viewers a window into her traditions, her tastes, her methods. But how can you sell tradition when you fumble the basics? How can you preach elevated lifestyle when you ignore food safety 101? It wasn't just a turkey blunder. It was brand betrayal. Now let's go deeper into the contradiction at the heart of Meghan's public life. She has, since day one, positioned herself as both above and within the world of regular people. She's Hollywood and humanitarian, Duchess and digital nomad, polished and personal, and most of the time, she's walked that tightrope well. But the turkey moment knocked her off balance. Suddenly, she wasn't the wise voice guiding us through holiday rituals. She was the rich girl who didn't know how to prep a bird. And that's unforgivable in the court of public opinion. Because when the veil drops, when the curated camera angle widens, what's left is a human. Flawed, unfiltered, real. And Meghan, ironically, wasn't ready for that. Even more ironic? If she had just leaned into the mistake, admitted it, laughed about it, posted a follow-up story joking about needing kitchen gloves, the narrative could have turned. Look, Meghan's just like us. She goofs in the kitchen too. But silence reads as shame. Or worse, arrogance. And in that vacuum, the public didn't just question the clip. They began reinterrogating everything. Old cooking photos, past interviews, podcast quotes about mindful living and being present in the moment. People began digging. And what they found, or thought they found, a pattern, a gap between the message and the medium. For instance, take her Archetypes podcast. One episode featured a long segment about breaking down labels, about shedding expectations placed on women. Noble idea. But now, people revisited it with fresh eyes. Is this the same woman who couldn't admit a turkey mistake? Another clip from her Netflix doc shows her speaking about the importance of connection over perfection. But rubbing poultry with diamond-encrusted fingers? That's perfection pretending to be connection. The contradictions became impossible to ignore. And then came the think pieces. The Atlantic ran a brutal op-ed titled Meghan Markle and the Perils of Performance Authenticity. It argued that celebrities like Meghan had weaponized vulnerability into a marketing tool, and the public was waking up. The New York Times dropped a Sunday Styles feature on the Thanksgiving that roasted a duchess, tracking how influencer culture had turned even cooking into content. Even Vanity Fair, typically kind to Meghan, published a quiet critique. When aesthetic kills appetite. Suddenly, it wasn't just trolls attacking her. It was the establishment rethinking her. And you could feel the shift. Her fans still defended her, but the tone changed. Less reverence. More, I hope she learns from this. Less, she's under attack. More, she needs better advisors. Even the Meghan-friendly podcasts went quiet that week. The echo chamber fractured. And in that silence, Netflix made its move. Because they were watching. And what they saw wasn't just a PR hiccup. They saw a sinking brand, a special that now carried radioactive risk. And their decision? Pull it. Quietly. Immediately. No trailer. No teaser. No mention in the coming this week carousel. Gone. But Meghan? She wasn't done. Because the moment she heard the special had been shelved, she allegedly made a phone call. And the tone? Was not festive. What does it feel like when the rug is pulled out from under you? Not by an enemy. Not by a scandal, but by your own team. That's the question Meghan Markle was reportedly asking behind closed doors in late November 2025. Because while the public laughed at memes and shared parody videos, something more chilling was happening quietly behind the scenes. Netflix had made its decision. They weren't going to air, with Love, Meghan, a holiday celebration. Not now. Not later. Not ever. And they weren't going to announce it either. No statement. No PR spin. No polite, creative differences, press release. Just silence. Just deletion. The digital equivalent of locking the doors, turning off the lights, and pretending the party never existed. But let's rewind. Because this wasn't a small project. This wasn't a casual, let's throw up a YouTube video and see what happens holiday experiment. This was a high-stakes, high-budget seasonal centerpiece. The kind of cozy content that platforms crave for fourth-quarter engagement. The kind of soft-focus, multi-camera, warmth-drenched storytelling that attracts advertisers, holiday nostalgia viewers, and lifestyle junkies. Think of it as Meghan's version of a Hallmark special, except branded to the teeth and monetized from every angle. Behind the scenes, it had been in the works for months. Sources say the original pitch involved an hour-long special filmed at Meghan and Harry's Montecito home. A combination of cooking segments, heartfelt reflections, and surprise guest appearances from close personal friends. Strategic cross-promotions with Meghan's upcoming lifestyle brand, rumored to include recipe cards, essential oil kits, and eco-friendly cookware. Tie-ins to her charity initiatives, with portions of proceeds benefiting Archwell projects. And yes, a glossy companion book already in production, tentatively titled With Love, Meghan. A celebration of comfort, connection, and clean living. The show was set to drop Thanksgiving weekend, right when families would be curled up on couches, looking for something wholesome, pretty, and familiar. But instead, Netflix scrubbed it. Every trace. And here's how it unraveled. It started subtly. A week before the planned release, the placeholder tile on Netflix's back-end dashboard was quietly removed. Not a big deal on its own. These get shuffled around all the time. But then, scheduled promotional posts, approved weeks in advance, began getting paused or flagged. Emails to PR partners were suddenly vague. We're rethinking the rollout calendar. Stay tuned. By Tuesday morning, emails leaked to insider entertainment blogs revealed that Netflix had instructed their social media teams to deprioritize the Meghan special. By Wednesday, staffers were privately confirming it. The episode would not air. Not this year. Maybe not ever. The reason? An unspoken, awkward phrase that no one dared put into writing, but everyone knew. The backlash is too fresh. Inside Meghan's camp, the news hit like a sledgehammer. She had invested months of time, emotional energy, and branding currency into this one-shot attempt to reclaim her narrative. After Spotify collapsed, after the Archetypes podcast underperformed, after the tabloid waves, after the whisper campaigns, this was supposed to be the feel-good comeback. Meghan, not as victim or headline, but as host. Warm, generous, in control, and now, gone. Without explanation, without recourse, and without so much as a phone call from the Netflix executive team. Allegedly, Meghan found out the same way the rest of the world did, by noticing what wasn't there. According to a production insider, Meghan was completely blindsided. She thought the turkey clip would blow over, the source said. She expected maybe some light tabloid jabs, but nothing more. No one anticipated it turning into a meme with its own life. But it did. And Netflix, already burned by past controversies, see the Harry and Meghan docuseries Backlash, the royal reenactment dramas, the Spotify fallout, wanted no part of another reputational storm. They'd made a business calculation, not a personal one. And for Meghan, that made it worse. This wasn't betrayal by a tabloid or a troll. It was abandonment by a partner she thought she'd impressed. A partner she helped boost with hours of content. A platform she publicly thanked for believing in her voice. And now, that voice had been muted. Without warning. There's something especially cruel about being ghosted in the public eye. It's not just the silence, it's the deliberate absence. Imagine walking into a room where everyone agreed you'd host the party, only to find your name erased from the invitations. That's what happened here. Netflix didn't just pull the special. They pulled the memory of it. It never existed. And in an industry where perception is reality, that's reputation suicide, especially for someone like Meghan, who had made content control her fortress. But here's where things turn really interesting. Because behind the scenes, not everyone agreed with Netflix's decision. According to insiders, at least 2 senior producers on the project pushed back. They argued the backlash was already fading. That airing the special could turn the narrative around. That people wanted to see how Meghan would handle the moment. They proposed a quick re-edit, cutting the raw turkey moment, replacing it with a more sanitized sequence, even adding a tongue-in-cheek disclaimer. Shot prior to recent social media feedback. Don't forget to remove your jewelry before prepping poultry. But the execs didn't bite. They feared that releasing the special, even with edits, would reignite the memes. And worse, it would look like they were endorsing the behavior, endorsing Salmonella Sussex. And for Netflix, a company already navigating Hollywood strikes, subscriber churn, and content fatigue, that was one PR battle too many. Still, Meghan didn't back down. Multiple sources allege that after hearing the special was shelved, she placed a direct call to Netflix's VP of Content Partnerships. The conversation? Reportedly tense, frustrated, emotional. She wasn't screaming, one insider said, but she was furious. She asked them point blank, "Do you honestly think my holiday spirit is less safe than Dave Chappelle's monologue?" Ouch. She reportedly demanded the special air as scheduled, or at least that she be given a chance to address the controversy in the special. Netflix said no, flat out. And the next day, Meghan stopped responding. The call was the last direct contact between her and Netflix to this day. But that left one final mystery. If the special was fully filmed, if post-production was completed, if gift boxes had been sent, where was the master copy? Did Meghan have it? Did Netflix bury it in a server? Was it truly dead? Or was there a chance it could leak? Because in Hollywood, nothing ever disappears completely, and someone, somewhere, might just be sitting on the footage, waiting, watching, or preparing to talk. What does it say when no one will speak on your behalf? Not your team, not your production partners, not even your publicist. Silence in Hollywood isn't just awkward, it's lethal. And in Meghan Markle's case, it was deafening. Because as the memes continued, as the mocking grew more mainstream, as Salmonella Sussex entered late-night monologues and holiday dinner table jokes, something extraordinary happened. No one defended her. Not publicly, not forcefully, not even strategically, not from Netflix, not from Archewell, not from Harry. The brand that once rolled out carefully crafted, media-trained, crisis-ready statements for every whisper or headline, now went completely dark. But the fury? Oh, it was there, just not where the public could hear it. Behind closed doors, insiders say Meghan was furious. Not just at the nickname, not just at the cancellation, but at the betrayal. Because that's how she saw it. Netflix hadn't just killed her special. They'd abandoned her, disowned her, pretended she didn't exist. And worse, they left her to deal with the wreckage alone. But why? Why did they go silent? Why didn't Netflix put out a harmless schedule reshuffle press release? Why didn't Archewell release a cheery photo of Meghan in a new apron, smiling with a lessons learned caption? Why didn't her team roll out a counter-campaign, refocusing attention on her charitable work? The answer? Because the storm moved faster than her machine could. Let's break it down. In Meghan's world, nothing is spontaneous. Every post is vetted. Every appearance is planned. Every narrative is workshopped. That's her strength and her Achilles heel. Because when the backlash to the turkey clip exploded, it didn't follow the usual script. There wasn't a 72-hour grace window to draft a response, run it past lawyers, get input from brand partners, and issue a measured clapback. This wasn't a scandal. It was a meme. And memes don't wait for strategy meetings. They swarm. They mutate. They go global before lunch. By the time Meghan's team realized what was happening, it was already too late. Every move they might have made felt doomed to backfire. Apologize? That would have validated the criticism. Deny? Too obvious. Laugh it off. Risky. She's not known for self-deprecating humor. So they did the worst possible thing. They froze. And in that vacuum, the fury grew. Multiple sources close to Archewell say Meghan felt deeply betrayed by her own PR team. She allegedly asked why they hadn't seen this coming, why they didn't prep for backlash, why there wasn't a backup strategy to pivot the special, air a shorter version, drop a trailer, tease a 2026 re-release. One insider claimed she considered switching publicists altogether, telling a close contact, "If they can't handle a turkey, how will they handle the real things?" Yikes. Others say she contemplated going rogue, posting an unfiltered Instagram video addressing the controversy directly, without spin. The idea? A casual iPhone selfie. Meghan in a hoodie, hair up, holding a mug, saying something like, "Hey friends, just wanted to wish you all a happy holiday." And yes, I've learned my lesson. No more jewelry while prepping turkey. Promise. But the team shut it down. Too risky, they said. Too unbranded. Too off-message. The irony? It might have saved her. While Meghan simmered privately, Netflix stayed quiet, publicly and internally. According to one Netflix employee, all staff were ordered to avoid any public mention of the special. No quotes. No sources. No leaks. They even flagged internal Slack channels, warning team members to avoid engaging in online discussions about Archewell-related properties. In other words, a total lockdown, which only deepened the mystery. Because now it wasn't just Meghan's special was canceled. It was, why is everyone pretending it never existed? And that question only fueled the fire. The silence became a story in itself. Entertainment blogs ran headlines like, "Where's the Meghan holiday special? Netflix isn't talking." Fans ask, why is Netflix ghosting Meghan Markle? From Duchess to discarded. The quiet erasure of, with love, Meghan. Even Variety, known for its industry-neutral tone, ran a carefully worded piece headlined, "Holiday specials pulled last minute." Coincidence or crisis response? It didn't name Meghan outright. But the subtext? Blindingly obvious. And still no one spoke. Not a peep. Not from the producers. Not from Meghan's inner circle. Not even a Christmas card post that could double as a subtle PR reset. Why? Because no one could agree on the message. Insiders say Archewell went into full lockdown mode. No media inquiries, no leaks, no social commentary. Meghan allegedly forbade staff from giving interviews or background quotes, fearing they might be twisted or mocked. Even Harry, who had long stood by her through media storms, reportedly urged caution. "Let it pass," he allegedly said. "We've been through worse." But Meghan wasn't so sure. To her, this wasn't just a viral moment. It was a narrative collapse, a public stripping of control. And that's what hurt most. Because in the absence of a statement, any statement, the public filled the gap. Speculation exploded. Conspiracy theories ran wild. Netflix is embarrassed. They regret the Archewell deal. There were hygiene violations on set, and they shut it down. Oprah warned them not to go forward. The crew got sick after filming and blamed the turkey. None of it was proven. Much of it was absurd. But in the silence, absurdity thrives. Meghan's image, once untouchable, was now a playground for jokes, jabs, and fan fiction. Even SNL reportedly drafted a sketch titled The Duchess's Kitchen before pulling it last minute, fearing legal blowback. The damage? Already done. And just when you thought the silence couldn't get more awkward, a leak. From inside Netflix. From someone who saw the special. Someone who claimed the turkey clip was only the beginning. And that what happened next was far worse. What happens when someone breaks the silence? Not with a tweet, not with a joke, but with a document, an email. One that confirms what everyone suspected, but no one dared say aloud. Netflix didn't just shelve Meghan's holiday special. They killed it. And they did it for one reason. Reputational risk. Let's dive into the leak that set everything on fire. Again, it began with an anonymous tip. An unverified screenshot posted by a freelance entertainment reporter on X. The image showed a short internal memo from Netflix's content risk and brand integrity team. Subject line, "With love, Meghan." Internal status update. The body? Just 4 lines. Due to reputational sensitivity and high-volume negative sentiment following the Thanksgiving preview clip, we are suspending all scheduled release and promotional activity for the project titled, "With Love, Meghan." Awaiting further risk assessment. Do not engage with external press. At first, many dismissed it. Photoshopped? Probably. Fabricated? Could be. But within hours, 2 more industry sources corroborated it. Sending identical phrasing to the Ankler and Deadline. And then it hit Variety. That's when it became real. The leak was legit. The show was scrapped. And the phrase, reputational sensitivity, became the buzzword of the week. Let's pause on that phrase. Because that's where the iceberg lurks. Netflix didn't say creative issues. They didn't say production delays. They didn't even blame scheduling. They used corporate code for something far more dangerous. High-volume negative sentiment. Translated? The internet hates this right now, and we're not touching it. That's a terrifying admission from a platform that aired Tiger King and Dahmer. Netflix has a high tolerance for controversy, sometimes even thrives on it. But what it doesn't tolerate? Brand damage. And right now, Meghan Markle wasn't just controversial. She was contagious. At least in their eyes. What's especially damning about the leak is the timing. The email was dated November 25th, 2 days before the special was supposed to go live, which means Netflix made the call at the last possible second. That raises a disturbing question. Had they planned to air it all along, and only yanked it when the Salmonella Sussex meme blew up too big to ignore? If so, that would explain the marketing limbo, the pulled trailer, the ghosted influencer packages, the social team silence. They didn't scrap the special early. They buried it late. Even more revealing? The directive to not engage with external press. This wasn't just about pausing content. This was about shutting down communication entirely. Netflix didn't want spin. They wanted invisibility, which suggests something chilling. They were afraid of Meghan, afraid of her response, afraid of any interaction that might re-spark the firestorm or land them in a public battle with the woman once dubbed the most media-savvy royal in history. That's not a standard PR calculation. That's containment. And for Meghan, this leak wasn't just confirmation. It was humiliation. Sources say the leak hit her team like a grenade. Until that moment, there was still hope. Still whispers that maybe the special could be rebranded, delayed, air next year, turn into a holiday cookbook tie-in. But now there was proof. Netflix didn't just postpone. They strategically distanced. And worse, they wrote it down. One source close to Meghan allegedly told The Times. This wasn't about a turkey. It was about a platform that lost faith in their star because the internet made fun of her for 48 hours. She's furious, and rightfully so. Another insider was more blunt. They used her. They profited off her name. And the second it got hard, they ran. But others saw it differently. A former Netflix content manager, who asked to remain anonymous, offered a different view. It's not about panic. It's about calculation. They've seen what happens when a brand becomes a meme. You can't sponsor sincerity when the punchline is still trending. Cold, clinical, harsh. But in the world of streaming giants, cold wins. And then came the real blow. The revelation that Netflix hadn't even informed Meghan directly before the email went viral. She didn't get a call, didn't get a courtesy heads up. She found out, like everyone else, online, from a leak, in the middle of a holiday weekend. For someone who built her image on connection, dignity, and voice, that kind of silent dismissal was crushing. And insiders say the fallout was instant. Meghan reportedly summoned her legal team, not to sue, but to review the contracts, to see if Netflix had breached terms, to see if she could pull the special and release it elsewhere, to explore her rights to the footage. But here's the kicker. She didn't own the final cut. Netflix did. And without their permission, she couldn't show it, stream it, sell it, not even a clip. The footage belonged to them, and they'd locked the vault. But that didn't stop the whispers, because while Meghan's team scrambled behind the scenes, another rumor surfaced. Someone on the production team had saved a personal copy of the rough cut, unedited, unfiltered, untouched, and they were talking. The leak had changed the narrative. No longer was this about a hygiene mistake. It was about betrayal, erasure, powerlessness, and the irony? The more Netflix tried to bury the story, the bigger it got, because now everyone wanted to see it. Not the finished special, the raw footage, the version before the filters, before the edits, before the branding, the version where Meghan fumbled, reshot scenes, argued with the director, maybe even made worse mistakes than the turkey. If that version surfaced, it wouldn't just break the internet. It would break her brand. But what if it already existed? And what if someone was about to leak it? What happens when two powerhouses go to war without saying a word? There were no press conferences, no statements, no lawsuits. But the tension? Palpable. Because even though Netflix and Meghan Markle never formally declared a standoff, the industry knew exactly what it was watching. A quiet, passive-aggressive, behind-the-scenes clash between a streaming giant and a woman who once thought she was the brand. And now, both sides were holding their ground. Neither blinking, neither backing down. But something had shifted. Something neither side could ignore. Let's unpack it. On the surface, everything was still. Meghan's team didn't sue. Netflix didn't issue a public kill notice. The special remained buried. But under the surface, insiders described a cold war of whispers, leaks, and silent moves. And it all came down to one thing. Control. Netflix controlled the content. Meghan controlled the narrative. Or at least, she used to. And now that balance was gone. The real tension wasn't just about a holiday special. It was about who owns the audience. See, Meghan's relationship with Netflix had always been a fragile one. From the very beginning, insiders say the streaming giant saw Archewell as a high-risk, high-reward investment. After the success of Harry and Meghan, their 2022 docuseries, there was optimism, but also red flags. Meghan was known to be exacting. Harry was withdrawn from production. Creative differences surfaced even in early brainstorming sessions. The With Love, Meghan holiday special had already gone through 3 versions before filming even began. Netflix execs reportedly clashed with Archewell over tone, structure, and, yes, how authentic Meghan was willing to appear on camera. One producer described the vibe as a negotiation every 5 minutes. So when the Salmonella Sussex Backlash exploded, Netflix didn't see a one-off accident. They saw confirmation. Confirmation that the Meghan brand was too volatile, too polished to be relatable, too vulnerable to public opinion, and, most importantly, too dangerous to defend. Now, flip the lens. From Meghan's side, Netflix was the partner who said they believed in her vision, who welcomed her after the royal exit, who signed the massive multi-year deal and told the world they were investing in her. So when they pulled the plug on her holiday special, without warning, without support, what Meghan saw wasn't a risk calculation. She saw abandonment, even betrayal. Multiple insiders confirmed she took it personally, not just as a businesswoman, as a woman, as a storyteller, as someone who had poured herself into curating a new public self, only to have it erased by the very platform she trusted. But this wasn't a screaming match. There were no heated meetings, no scorched earth emails. What followed was something much more brutal. Mutual freezing. Netflix stopped calling. Archewell stopped pitching. Executives dodged events where they knew the other would attend. At industry functions, the silence was deafening. Meghan's team was reportedly disinvited from a Netflix-hosted holiday reception in Beverly Hills. Unofficially, due to limited capacity. A subtle dig. A quiet snub, but one that echoed. And yet, the tension didn't stay behind closed doors. It started leaking. Strategically. Netflix insiders whispered to trade outlets that they were reevaluating future non-fiction collaborations with Archewell. A polite way of saying, we're moving on. Meanwhile, Archewell's sources whispered back, floating stories that Meghan was considering other platforms, maybe even YouTube, Amazon, or Apple TV, for her future projects. Each leak was designed to pressure the other. Each silence was a move on the chessboard. Each non-comment, a headline. Then came the wild card. The Meghan defenders, a handful of high-profile figures, mostly on social media, started pushing back on the narrative. An influential wellness influencer posted, "Imagine building an entire special meant to bring joy, only to have it canceled because you wore rings while cooking. Are we serious?" A feminist podcast host tweeted, "We let men with entire harassment scandals keep their shows. But a woman makes one turkey handling error and she's radioactive? No thanks." Even a former Netflix showrunner weighed in anonymously in The Hollywood Reporter, stating, "Netflix built its empire on taking risks. Killing Meghan's show over a meme was cowardly." For the first time, the tide began to turn. Not fully, not publicly, but subtly. That's when Netflix made their next move. They didn't revive the special. They didn't respond to the criticism. Instead, they fast-tracked a new holiday project. This time, with another high-profile woman with a relatable cooking brand, a country pop star turned cookbook author. It was a signal, a reset. Netflix was saying, we're not out of the holiday kitchen game. We're just out of Meghan's. For Meghan, this was infuriating. The message was clear. She had been replaced. Not openly, not directly, but symbolically. Her holiday crown had been passed. And worse, she had no way to respond. Because if she came out swinging, she'd look petty. If she stayed silent, she'd look weak. A lose-lose. But Meghan isn't known for staying quiet forever. And insiders say she had already begun laying the groundwork for a comeback. Not with Netflix. Not with a holiday special. But with a completely different kind of project. One that would answer this Salmonella Sussex mockery once and for all. Not with apologies. Not with edits. But with a bold pivot. A rebrand. A new narrative. And that plan, was about to be tested. Because while Meghan plotted in silence, someone else broke rank. Someone who worked on the set. Someone who saw everything. And they weren't just ready to talk. They were ready to blow the lid off. Who breaks first when the silence becomes unbearable? Is it the execs behind the glass doors? The PR team desperate for deniability? Or is it the people closest to the chaos? The ones who smelled the turkey, watched the retakes, and saw what was never supposed to air? Turns out, it was the chef. Not just any chef. A semi-famous, cable network regular, cookbook deal in the works kind of chef. Someone with enough name recognition to matter, but not so famous that they had too much to lose. Let's call him Chef J. You've probably seen him on a few morning shows. Tall, charming, classically trained. Known for his rustic seasonal fare and 5-ingredient miracles. He wasn't a random hire. He was brought in as Meghan's culinary partner for the special, meant to appear in at least 2 of the segments, prepping holiday sides while exchanging warm, witty banter with the Duchess. Think of it as Ina meets Oprah meets Meghan. It was supposed to be magical. It was not. When Chef J broke his silence, it wasn't in a big tabloid or splashy podcast. It was subtle, intentional. A quiet comment during an Instagram Live Q&A, where he was promoting his new holiday cookbook. Someone in the comments asked, "What was it like working with Meghan Markle on her Netflix special?" His eyes flicked up. His jaw tightened. And then came the 6 words that detonated across the internet. Let's just say never again. That was it. No follow-up. No elaboration. He moved on to the next question. But the damage? Done. Within hours, clips of the moment went viral. Reddit threads lit up. TikTok detectives dug into Chef J's background. Lifestyle blogs ran headlines like, "Chef J breaks silence. Trouble on the Markle kitchen set. Never again. Meghan's culinary partner suggests behind-the-scenes drama." And sure enough, more leaks followed. It started with an anonymous post, allegedly from someone on the production crew. Then another from a former assistant. Each post told a slightly different story, but the picture they painted was remarkably consistent. The set of With Love, Meghan had been a disaster. Let's walk through the biggest claims. Meghan was overly controlling. According to 2 sources, she micromanaged every aspect of filming. She wanted to review every camera angle in real time, one crew member said. "We spent 30 minutes adjusting lighting just to make her engagement ring sparkle more naturally." The cooking wasn't real. Multiple insiders claim most dishes were pre-prepared by Meghan's personal chef off-camera. "She didn't even touch half the food in the final segment," said one production assistant. "She just posed with it." Chef J was sidelined. Though originally promised equal screen time, he was allegedly pushed to the background. Meghan didn't want to share focus, a source claimed. She wanted to be the center of every frame. Tension was high. There were allegedly 3 major reshoots. One due to Meghan not liking the tone of her laugh. Another because she wanted to swap outfits to appear more grounded. The turkey scene was controversial before it aired. Here's where things get explosive. According to a senior production source, someone on set warned Meghan about the jewelry while handling the raw bird. They told her it might look unhygienic and inauthentic. She allegedly waved it off. "It's beautiful," she said, according to one leak. "This is the vibe." She doubled down, demanded it stay in, refused reshoots. "It's raw. It's real. It's me." Irony, meet downfall. And remember that ominous segment title from earlier? It was supposed to be called Rooted in Ritual, a Markle Thanksgiving. Now, it reads like parody. What was intended as a soft-focus exploration of holiday warmth became the smoking gun, the moment her entire kitchen brand imploded. Chef J allegedly refused to film retakes of that segment. That's when things turned cold between him and Meghan. And though he remained contractually bound to silence, his Instagram Live comment, "Never again," was his release valve. The floodgates opened. Now here's the kicker. Chef J wasn't just a supporting character. He was supposed to be a face of the brand. His involvement was part of a larger plan. Guest chefs on future episodes, cross-promotions, even a joint-branded cookware line. But now, all of that was dead. And the moment he broke ranks, it signaled something far more dangerous. The NDA firewall had cracked. Because once one person speaks, others feel emboldened. And that's exactly what happened. Within days, more whispers leaked. A junior producer said the set felt like walking on eggshells, organic, cage-free, $14.99 eggshells. A stylist claimed Meghan requested 3 wardrobe changes per segment. A catering assistant confessed he never saw Meghan actually taste any food. She just held it for the camera. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. It wasn't just Salmonella Sussex. It was scripted Sussex, a woman portraying authenticity but rehearsing it down to the breath. And the turkey incident became a metaphor, not just a hygiene error, but a symbol of control, of artifice, of the widening gap between image and reality. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Had Meghan allowed some imperfection, some mess, some chaos, some actual cooking, this special might have soared. Audiences don't mind a little kitchen drama. They like watching celebrities fumble with timers and forget ingredients. It makes them human. But Meghan didn't want human. She wanted iconic. And that's what doomed her. So where does this leave Chef Jay? Technically, he didn't break the NDA. Not directly. But his 6 words said everything. Let's just say, never again. And with that, he became the unintentional whistleblower of a set gone wrong. A set that never delivered. A set that now exists only in rumor and regret. But even as Chef Jay tried to move on, the internet didn't let go. Because soon, someone would reveal the real scandal. The one that had nothing to do with turkey, and everything to do with what Netflix found in the raw footage.